Meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Alderman Catalano.
Here.
Alderman Jacob.
Here.
Alderman Messina.
Here.
Alderman Sorrentino.
Here.
Alderman Sizmarsky.
Here.
Alderman E. Wesley.
Here.
Alderman R. Wesley. Alderman Woods.
Here.
Mayor Police.
Here. Declare quorum. Please stand and join Pledge of Allegiance.
Indivisible. Thank you.
I need a motion to approve the May 16, 2019 minutes. Second.
Well, what happened first?
Eugene was first. Randy second. Any questions, comments, corrections? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That carries. I do have a citizen that wishes to be heard. Mr. Mack, if you could please go to the podium.
Mr. Mock, Mayor.
Mack.
But thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. You all have a packet in front of you. I only have 3 minutes, so I'm going to be very brief and to the point. 1, commercial vehicle definition and the allowed number. He's clearly violating it with having 2 vehicles. Too tall a ladder rack, it's only allowed 18 inches. If you have any ladders on top of the ladder rack, you are in violation. Signs, not designated signs on vehicles or trailers with obstructed view of driveway. His entire van is a sign with lettering and everything else. He's running a home-based business. This is another point that needs to be addressed. Home-based business violations, including no more than 25% of the building being used. Signs at the home business, delivery or storage of merchandise or supplies. No exterior evidence, vehicle and equipment storage. Character conducted in a manner to differ from residential. Underneath lighting, he has lights all over this house, and the entire property is completely lit up all night long. Traffic impact, which there are many photos to show you. Parking shall not require more than the driveway, which you can see his, I assume, wife and his 2 vehicles take up more than the driveway, and she parks on the street behind her driveway, behind my driveway. It's very impactful. Prohibited even of being met includes, so there's a section where it's prohibited even if you meet all the factors for the ordinances, and that's construction and building services, along with the daycare, which I have proof that there are people that are constantly coming in and out of his house with kids. And business vehicles require sticker, which is current business vans do not have vehicle stickers on them. And then you have dereliction of duties, which I will flip to, because you have one picture that shows 3 men, which is Art Woods, Dave Woods, and Eugene Wesley, all sitting there with the van in violation in the driveway. The next photo you have clearly shows Art Woods, Eugene Wesley, and Dave Woods sitting there. These 3 are 2 aldermen and Dave Woods, who's on the Community Development Commission for Wooddale. They all should know these laws and ordinances, and 2 of them are upheld under oath to enforce them, which you, Eugene Wesley, have not done so. Where you have even called the cops for my truck being parked in the street.
Excuse me. Let's not make this personal, just with the facts and.
I am stating the facts. He called the cops on me and have violated his oath, and I believe he's abused his power as alderman. And there's picture proof, as you can see, the last 3 pages of that is his car pulling away when Officer Grant was called to the stand. To this incident, where you accused my truck of being too big for city streets, where it is not. No matter what the plates are, it goes off of the gross weight of the vehicle and what the vehicle actually weighs. And that you are wrong for. I believe David Woods should not be on a community development committee at all, and I believe Eugene Wesley has broke his oath as alderman. Art Woods, I can understand you not saying anything. It's your brother, and I know what brother's love is.
Just stay to the council, please.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. You'll explain it. All right, next up, written communique. I do have one from the Historical Society. We, the Wooddale Historical Society Board, appreciate the gracious support of our events this past fiscal year. Our sponsored events, conversation with the Gala Dinner Dance, Harvest Fest, Ghost Stories in the Barn, Holiday on the Farm have been extremely well attended. Folks come from many areas to get roasted corn on the cob, pumpkin pie, Harvest Fest, and see the groups that we contract. Thanks to you to teach about the past and to entertain them for those days. These past years at Harvest Fest, we had more members from the Rosenwinkel families here. This has prompted other family members to come for visits during the year, and we work on genealogy for their families. Your funds of $7,000 to us also help with our continuing program for first graders, Fenton volunteers, and in combining with the library on events and displays. This year again, we have the Passport to Adventure Museum books for our children and adults to visit many other member museums of the Kane DuPage Regional Museum Association and learn more about other museums in our counties. We have placed additional books in the Wooddale Public Library for our townspeople to pick up and use. We invite you and your families to become members of the Historical Society and to come to many events we hold during the year. We are open every Sunday from 1 to 4 p.m., except for holidays, and we are open on Wednesdays from 1 to 3 p.m. The museum is available for individual tours by appointment. Our dues are minimal, paid annually, business membership $50, families $20, individuals $10, and seniors $6. Please talk up your museum. Again, thank you for your support. Judith Ryan. Next, we have, under Mayor's report, I'll turn this over to the chief for the Medal of Valor. Chief?
Thanks, Mayor. If I could have Sergeant Rissman, Officer Shelton, and Officer Perez join us up here. It's nice to see so many family members and friends that came out to support them tonight as we recognize them for an incident that occurred earlier this year, and also our fellow officers and even off-duty personnel that are here to support them. So as you know, I'm very proud of the work that all of our officers and all of our support personnel do on a daily basis. We had an incident that happened earlier this year that really went above and beyond the call of duty, and what could have been a tragic incident was only mitigated successfully by the work of these officers, and you know, something that could have resulted in the death to either any of the officers or the suspect in the case ended successfully. So the awards, when we decide on these, we have a formal awards committee set up. It's made up of different members throughout the department, different divisions. And two of the awards were given out tonight, the Medal of Valor and the Medal of Honor. The handing those out is not taken lightly. I know this particular case, it was a close to an hour-long review and discussion and making sure that these aren't just handed out for any incident that we respond to. And as a matter of fact, looking back in the last 30 years, we've only issued one of each of these in the last 30 years. So it's a pretty prestigious award and one that doesn't come along very often. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Deputy Chief Bill Freeze so he can kind of recap what happened that night, and then we'll get on to the awards presentation. Bill?
Thank you. Just want to go over a few things with law enforcement. In today's society, we all now we see and hear what a police officer faces on a daily basis. There's YouTube videos, there's social media. People are rushing to judgment and taking what an officer goes through in, I don't know, 3, 5, 10, 20 seconds and being very critical of how they react. So it's important to kind of stay focused on how these police officers acted that night and how they took the actions to make not only themselves safe, but the family involved. Our police officers in Wooddale face dangers on an unknown and daily basis. They all might not be serious, but we always train and prepare physically and mentally for the unknown because it can happen at any time. Common theme we see during press releases involving mass incidents, mass injuries, shootings, when you interview the neighbors or people that live in the neighborhood, you hear the same thing. I didn't think it would happen here. And we have to think that way when we're out on the street. And you as citizens also need to think that a bad thing can happen at any given time. Also, there's not a week that goes by in Wooddale that I don't hear good things that all of our police officers, the men and women of the Wooddale Police Department, do. They take the actions in their routine duty, and to me, that makes them heroes in all of our eyes every single day. So it's important to say. On January 1st, 2019, officers Brian Shelton, Kevin Perez, and Sergeant Rissman responded to a report of domestic violence at a home in Wooddale. It was the late evening hours, first of the year. Figured it would be a quiet evening for them. Probably not so true. Upon their arrival, they had very limited information as to what was going on inside the house because of the frantic caller. So 911 operator was not able to get a real good idea of how serious it was inside the house. The son inside the home was suffering from a mental crisis and had battered a family member in the process. The individual in crisis had armed himself with a very large butcher knife and retreated to a second-floor bathroom where he locked himself inside. The officer standing beside me learned that the individual was suicidal and homicidal, and they feared that he was going to cause further harm to himself. Sergeant Rissman, Officer Shelton, and Perez attempted to negotiate through the door with the individual for a short period of time. They had no success in any communication with this individual whatsoever. After many attempts to negotiate, officers had an indication through their observations that the individual was not willing to communicate or come out. Sergeant Rissman, Officer Shelton, and Perez developed a plan to enter the bathroom and encounter the individual, fearing that he was causing harm. The officers entered the bathroom to find this individual still armed with a large knife, standing in the bathtub. The individual made several aggressive moves towards the officers with the knife, at which time Officer Kevin Perez discharged his department-issued taser in an attempt to incapacitate and disarm him. The taser, unfortunately, was not completely effective. The subject was only partially incapacitated and was still holding the knife. Now keep in mind, some of you know this, when a taser is discharged, the discharge lasts for 5 seconds. So you have 5 seconds to take action. Recognizing the danger and the potential for further harm to the subject or the officers involved, Officer Brian Shelton rushed towards the armed man who was standing in the bathtub and was able to break free the knife from his hand and safely place him on the ground and in custody. And again, keep in mind this entire incident occurred within 5 seconds. The individual was eventually transported safely to the local hospital where he has received treatment for his crisis, and none of our officers were injured during the incident. I'm very proud to work with these officers as well as all the officers of the Wooddale Police Department, and I am not surprised at the actions that these officers took that evening. It shows the dedication to the community and the safety of the residents. Congratulations for placing your lives in harm's way during this incident, risking safety for someone you've never met. And I thank you for what you did. Thank you.
Before we present them with the official awards, as I mentioned, the awards committee goes through a detailed review of the reports, the 911 calls, any in-car video, any type of supporting evidence. And the 3 awards that were issued to them, one was the Department Award for Valor, and that's for Officer Shelton in the middle. That's the highest level award, and that's for department personnel who perform an act of exceptional bravery with an awareness of the possibility that the act could result in great bodily harm or death to themselves, are eligible to receive the Department Award of Valor. So certainly by his actions, which could have resulted in loss of life to him, the awards committee bestowed him with that honor. The Department Award of Honor for Officer Kevin Perez is for department personnel who perform a heroic act that by its nature results in saving a life, preventing a serious crime, or apprehending a person who committed a serious crime, are eligible to receive the Department Award of Honor. The eligible act, while of a lesser degree than required for the Award of Valor, must nevertheless have been completed with distinction. So Kevin, you definitely did that in this case, as using the equipment given to you and forming a plan with your team to successfully end the incident. And for Sergeant Melody Rissman, who during part of this time was also trying to coordinate with dispatch to get out a crisis negotiation team, which were a member of a multi-jurisdictional team, when they decided that they weren't going to be able to wait for some type of negotiator or someone to come out fearing for his life. She was awarded with the Department Commendation, which is for department personnel who perform an outstanding police act with diligence, perseverance, or exceptional ability. So Melody, that certainly fits your role in managing the incident and working with your team to form a response to a very dangerous situation that very easily could have been a deadly force situation, and fortunately it wasn't in this case. So for that, the Department Award of Honor and the Award of Valor come with a pin that the officers can wear on their uniforms, similar to what we have. And so Deputy Chief Freeze, if you could present the Award of Valor to Officer Shelton. And to Officer Perez, the Award of Honor. That's Brian. And then each of them are receiving a letter recapping the incident that night and their actions and what award they received for it. So anyways, thank you for what you do on a daily basis. You really excelled, on the first day of the year. And we're just hopeful that the subject you dealt with continues to get mental health care and, is able to be around with his family for a long, successful future, too. So nice job. We're very proud of you. Good job.
And if the families would like to follow the officers, unless you want to stay, it's a very exciting meeting. Okay. Do you have the movie from next Friday in your report? Okay, we got to coordinate. All right. Just so the citizens know, next Friday, the 14th, will be the first movie. I believe it's Space Jam, and it's going to be at the water park, correct? Yes. Okay. That concludes my report. Mr. Murmas, manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One item, Wooddale set a record this May, for those of you who don't know, for the wettest Wooddale May in recorded history. And with that, we now get a visit from our little flying friends. No, not aliens, but mosquitoes. The city does contract with Clark Mosquito Control. We have been contracting with them for a number of years. And for residents at home who don't know how the mosquito sprayings work or mosquito abatement, Clark measures certain habits of the mosquitoes and times the sprays just right. We do different types of sprayings and treatments throughout the year. We will do a citywide spraying likely next week, depending on that monitoring. Additionally, with all the rain, we're a little bit delayed with parkway restorations for any utility work that may have been done over the winter months. And with all that wet weather, it was just a real burden to get done, to get that accomplished. But Public Works looks to have that wrapped up for all the residents by June 14th. And hopefully we get some drier weather moving forward. that concludes my report.
Thank you. No consent agenda this evening. Committee chairman reports, planning and zoning, Alderman Jacob.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you. Public health and safety, Alderman Sorrentino.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you. Public works, Alderman Catalano.
I have one, Mayor.
Go ahead.
A resolution approving the contract between the City of Wooddale and Bauer Group for the removal of asbestos material located at 364, 370, 372, and 376 East Irvin Park Road, not in the amount to exceed $21,000.
So moved. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions?
Yeah, who was the second?
Randy.
Thank you.
Mike first.
I have one.
What? Alderman Catalano, go ahead.
What's the timetable on that as far as the removal of the asbestos?
Mr. Murmas.
There is a time period where you have to, notification period for the asbestos, which we started the clock on already. And then after that notification period runs out, which is 10 days, which I assume, I think we're already 5 or 6 into that 10 days, it takes about a week then to remediate the asbestos, so not too long. And then after that, we'd be able to shut off utilities and demolish the building. The council already approved the demolition contract.
Thank you.
Alderman Jacob.
When you say notification period or notification, who does that
To
go
the
to?
state.
Oh, okay.
Any further questions? Roll call, please.
Alderman Catalano?
Yes.
Alderman Jacob?
Yes.
Alderman Messina?
Yes.
Alderman Sorrentino?
Yes.
Alderman Sizmarsky?
Yes.
Alderman E. Wesley?
Yes.
Alderman Woods?
Yes.
That's it.
And that passes.
And that's the end of my report, Mayor.
Thank you. Finance and Administration,
I have two
Alderman Woods.
reports, Mayor.
Go
One,
ahead.
an ordinance providing for the extension of a promissory note of the City of Wooddale, DuPage County, Illinois. That is my motion.
Second.
All right, motion, Mike, second. Any questions on this? Roll call.
Alderman Catalano? Yes. Alderman Jacob?
Yes.
Alderman Messina?
Yes.
Alderman Sorrentino?
Yes.
Alderman Sizmarsky?
Yes.
Alderman E. Wesley?
Yes.
Alderman Woods?
Yes.
And that passes.
Next is a resolution authorizing the execution of an amended Wooddale Road and Commercial Road redevelopment agreement. That is my motion.
moved.
We have a motion, we have a second. Questions? Alderman Wesley, go ahead.
I have one question. When, now that we gained this off the ground, when, is there a breakdown on when he's got to start?
There was a timetable. Mr. Murmas, go ahead.
Yeah, there was a timetable in there, but just a very short summary. They're working on their design plans now. They look to have that to CDC for approvals and council for approvals in October. And they're looking to get the project going in the fall with foundations in the ground. So they're working on their final designs now, and the fall will really start to be ramping up.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Alderman Catalano?
Yes.
Alderman Jacob?
Yes.
Alderman Messina?
Yes.
Alderman Sorrentino?
Yes.
Alderman Sizmarsky?
Yes.
Alderman E. Wesley?
Yes.
Alderman Woods?
Yes.
And that passes.
That's the end of my report, Mayor.
Next, under other business, airport noise, Alderman Jacob.
No report, Mayor.
Stormwater Commission,
No
Alderman Wesley.
report, Mayor.
Okay, approval of list of bills for June 6th, 2019, Alderman Woods.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the list of bills for 6/6/19 for $565,091.46.
I'll
Second.
that.
Okay, we have a second by Alderman Wesley. Any questions? Roll call, please. Eugene. Art was first and Jean was second.
Oh. Okay.
Roll call.
Roll call, all right. Alderman Catalano?
Yes.
Alderman Jacob?
Yes.
Alderman Messina?
Yes.
Alderman Sorrentino?
Yes.
Alderman Sizmarsky?
Yes.
Alderman E. Wesley?
Yes.
And Alderman Woods?
Yes.
And that passes. We have no items to be referred. We do need executive session to review minutes and land acquisition. I need a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Peter was second.